Mega Man X3. In terms of all the X games, Mega Man X3 is seen as the least best of the SNES trilogy, and for very good reasons. It was not developed by Capcom, it was developed by Mediocre Engineering. This was late into the Super Nintendo's run, so I imagine Capcom was putting their efforts into the next generation of systems, namely the Sony PlayStation, where we would see Mega Man 8 and Mega Man X4 released around the same time, but we'll get to that soon enough. Everyone who I've seen do Mega Man X3 all say that it's one of the low points of the series. I've always said that the X series has higher highs than the classic series, but lower lows. This is a low, but it's not as low as Mega Man X6 or 7. I'm not looking forward to playing through those again. Let's just get this out of the way. Before we begin, I'll state this. I played this off the original Super Nintendo version, which is not cheap to come by these days. I was lucky to get one off eBay when they cost around $70. If you want to play this today, best to get it off the Mega Man X Legacy Collection. More on that later. The PlayStation version, which was included in the Mega Man X collection for GameCube and PS2, has FMV cutscenes. Speaking of which, I got a story about that in the works. So we open with our prologue. Thanks to a Reploid named Dr. Doppler, he's been able to neutralize the Maverick threat. In gratitude, the Reploids have formed Doppeltown, named for their savior. Doppeltown, gotta say that's not a very good name. So the world finally looks to be at peace and enter a new golden age. Yeah, right. That's when Dr. Doppler makes his move and sets the Mavericks loose on the world. So now X and Zero sent out to stop the Mavericks. Again, we all know the Sigma's behind this, who else would it be? But Maverick HQ is under attack, so X and Zero go running back to HQ. Zero decides to go alone, leaving you to control X. Fortunately, X is left largely unchanged from X2. I don't know why he doesn't keep any of the other upgrades implemented into his system. I will never understand. But at least he keeps the dash upgrade. If it ain't broke, you don't fix it. I like how X typically always has an introduction level to get you used to everything. It sets the mood, but nothing will ever top the original. So X comes across Mac, who is evil and kidnaps X. Okay, don't even know who Mac is, but this is when you want to make a new guy who's easily disposable. Then Zero comes down to go save X. This'll be good. Wait, I'm controlling Zero? Holy, this is amazing! Zero has full health, can charge up to 3 levels, which lets you shoot 2 charge shots, and the third shot being a Z-Saber swing. This is amazing. Unfortunately, Zero is not a fully playable character. He's very limited, as we will see. Anyway, Zero defeats Max super easily and frees X. Well, that was fun while it lasted. See you later, Zero. The boss for this level is the same thing as the factory boss from Mega Man X2. It does the exact same thing, so really nothing new was done. I do miss when Vile came down and absolutely stunned you, which really set the mood well. I guess we can't always do that, it would lose its appeal very quickly. From then on, it becomes your standard fight the 8 Mavericks in whatever order you wish. One thing I will stress about this game, the difficulty is much more pronounced here than it was in the first 2 games. I know Mega Man is always tough but fair, but this game, oh boy. In addition to obnoxious enemy placement, you got enemies that take a good chunk of your health when you get hit. In my first hour of recording footage, I only managed to defeat 2 Mavericks. When I fought Toxic Seahorse, I found I was completely unprepared for his attack patterns, so I ran out of lives and thus had to start the whole stage all over again. What mitigates this is the ability to play as Zero. Simply by pressing L or on the pause screen, Zero can switch out with X for a little while. But more often than not, it's only for a little bit of time, as soon as you get to a boss door, X will automatically switch with Zero, and from then on you can't play as Zero for the rest of the stage. What a cock tease. Or more often than not, I will switch to Zero, only to find that I'm right at the door, and will switch immediately back to X. Zero's playstyle in this game is completely different from how it would be in later games of the series. If Zero dies, well, he's not usable for the rest of the game. Not sure what's going on with that. Did getting resurrected make you a bit of a glass cannon, Zero? Also, getting to this upgrade in Blizzard Buffalo stage really took a lot of work. But the leg upgrade was well worth it. Allows you to dash up into the air. Comes in handy for collection goodies like sub-tanks. Now let's cover some of the stages. First up, I did Blizzard Buffalo stage, a snow stage that contains your typical weather elements. There's no way to control it like you could in other games. You just have to bear with it as it constantly pushes you to the left. Blizzard Buffalo I find to be a very annoying boss because you have to constantly jump dash over him when he attacks, or dodge his big laser. It's just a repetitive boss that relies on your reflexes. So with Blizzard Buffalo down, you get the Frost Shield, which is non-descriptive as you shoot out a frost spike that fires at your enemies. That would have been a more appropriate name. Next up is Toxic Seahorse. It's an underwater stage. I do like the touch of the pollution in the background, as it adds some world building to the stage. Going underwater and facing with obnoxious enemy placement, of course spikes that can kill you. I know Dr. Wily doesn't make an entire fortress built out of spikes because they're too expensive, but what's Sigma's excuse? Toxic Seahorse is an easy boss to fight because with the right weapon, you reset the Maverick's attack patterns, which is fine by me because of how much damage the Mavericks do. So Toxic Seahorse is down and you get Acid Burst, a pathetically short-range weapon. After you do that, Doppler summons his main henchman, Bite, and this mysterious, shadowy figure. Gee, I wonder who he could be. We'll cover the mini-bosses in a second. For now, let's do the next two Maverick bosses, then we'll do the upgrades and mini-bosses. Next up is Tunnel Rhino. So many rocks in this stage, but an excellent place to grind for sub-tank energy. It's a vertical level, so there's lots of sliding down walls involved. As for Tunnel Rhino, he looks to get with the pattern of charging back and forth. The Acid Burst does the most damage to him. Oh yeah, no harm, no foul. The weapon you get is the Tornado Fang, one of the best weapons in the game as it drills into enemies. Next up is Volt Catfish. Volt Catfish's level is electric-based, meaning electric-based enemies, traps, you name it. I don't have much to say about it except Volt Catfish likes to bring down the electricity. The weapon you get is the Triad Thunder, one of the best weapons in the game. It has such good range. Now we'll talk about the upgrades. The armor upgrades are pretty standard. I already talked about how good the leg upgrade is. The helmet upgrade allows X to see where collectibles are, which comes in handy when you're trying to find something you missed. The body armor, in addition to added defense, gives X a shield, but unfortunately the arm upgrade, not as good as X2. You can still charge up to 2 shots, but when combined, you can fire a massive shot that I swear only works when it feels like it. In addition to that, you can find these upgrade chips that give X added abilities to his armor upgrades. You can only have one at a time, but I just recommend skipping all of them and getting the golden chip in the final stage. It has all of them in one. Slowly regenerating health, 2 charge shots all the time, double air dash, added defense. In addition to that, X can access 4 ride armors, 4 kinds. The standard, the one that has a drill for an arm, one that works underwater, and one that can hover. But you can't use any of them until you get the standard armor, which doesn't come until later in the story. So basically, if I was using ride armors, it was pretty situational, as I was often just trying to get an upgrade. These stages were designed for X, not the ride armors. I prefer when they're just an extra you can get. Come to think of it, where was the Tatmat Sembukia? Or Hurricane Kick if you prefer. X1 had the Hadouken, X2 had the Shoryuken, so why didn't this game have the Hurricane Kick? X3 is all about the mini-bosses, whether it be this squid thing, or that guy, or that thing, or Bitten Bike. Unlike the X-Hunters, it's totally random as to when these guys show up, and if you don't fight them with their weakness, they will get away and you'll have to fight them again. But the real challenge is getting to Vile since you have to teleport to him. X is, of course, surprised to see him even though resurrections are not impossible in this universe. But once he gets away, you have to escape the lab. Save some room for Samus Aran. Okay, running out of time. I think I can do it!
I'm gonna make it! I'm gonna make it! This is the greatest thrill of my life! I'm king of the world! Woohoo! Woohoo! Damn!
Next up is Crushed Crawfish. This location looks very familiar. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if reusing backgrounds was a cost-saving measure back then. This level is all about crunch, tight platform jumps, obnoxious enemy placement, the works. Crushed Crawfish is weak to the Triad Thunder, which can fire in 3 directions, but if he grabs you, he can do a lot of damage. So much crunch damage. The weapon you get is the Spinning Blade, which I never quite understood why it fires backwards instead of forwards, which seems counterintuitive. Next up is Nyan Tiger. This level takes place in a forest. Every Mega Man game has to have at least one. At least with Nyan Tiger, the Spinning Blade makes short work of him, even if I don't get it shooting backwards. Just odd. The weapon you get for beating Nyan Tiger is Ray Splasher, which shoots all over the place. So now we go to Gravity Beetle, which has a nice aesthetic. One thing I will say about NES and SNES backgrounds, they can get really detailed when the developers tried hard. I know a lot of it had to do with memory limitations. Gravity Beetle is done in super easy by the Ray Splasher. In fact, he couldn't do a thing with the weapon equipped. I do like the weapon you get for beating Beetle. Gravity Well. It acts like a bomb that sucks in damage, so all that leaves is Blast Hornet. I must say I do like the synth track even if it does loop. This level is like a factory, just gotta be careful of upward hazards. Blast Hornet is easily defeated by the Gravity Well. All he does is shoot smaller hornets at you. So the weapon you get is Parasitic Bomb, which I didn't use much. So now X and Zero return to Maverick HQ, where Dr. King tells them that he's found Doppler's fortress. Time for the final battle to begin. What's cool about this is depending on whether or not you finish Bit, Bite, and Vile, you'll get different bosses. Just gotta avoid getting crushed. At this mini-boss, if Zero is still active, he will stop the ceiling while you have to do the fighting, which doesn't seem necessary as he's easily defeated in a few seconds. If you didn't kill Bit or Bite, they combined into I can't pronounce this. Personally, I find that the Ray Splasher or Gravity Well is the best way to damage him. If you have destroyed both, you fight the Press Disposer instead, which can be annoying because he can grab X. A lot of bosses do that. The second stage, you fight Vile again. This time you can actually damage him in his Rhino armor. Once he's out of that, you gotta fight him again robot to robot. He's not too hard, but when he goes down, he'll vow to continue to haunt X, and that's the last we see of Vile. Until X8, that is. Oh, he's in Mega Man Extreme too, isn't he? Forgot about that. If not Vile, you fight a bug robot, and you can actually fight him as Zero. He's not too hard, but if playing as Zero, he will self-destruct, and Zero will be damaged, and he'll pass the Z-Saber to X while he gets repairs. So now X can use the Z-Saber. He can do a Beam Saber shot, which Zero couldn't do for whatever reason. Go figure. From then on, it's fight the 8 Mavericks again, and the boss fight against Doppler isn't too bad. The only thing that makes him annoying is that he will regenerate health, so it's best to use the Acid Burst to continuously wear him down. Once that's done, Doppler will repent for what he's done, leaving X to go and fight Sigma. Again. His first form has him use a shield. Gotta say, his design looks like it's compensating for something. Because the spin wheels rotate back, you gotta make sure you hit the very top of him. Once that's done, of course he takes a second form, and you can even damage him in the head with a charge shot like always. Of course, with how flimsy the supercharged shot is, good luck getting the shot to connect. Once that's done, he decides to try to possess X. Wonder why he never tries that again. X will try to escape, but will be cornered, and then depending on your actions, either Zero or Doppler will save X with an antivirus program. I prefer the Zero ending myself. So Sigma is defeated yet again. X and Zero look at the destroyed labs again, but then it says something odd. X must destroy Zero, which isn't what it said in the Japanese version, just that X and Zero are fated to fight someday. Yeah, Capcom was throwing hints that X and Zero were going to have this big epic fight. Did it live up to that? Yeah, we'll get into it. So Mega Man X3 it's there. It's not amazing, it's not terrible, it's just okay. It's middle of the pack. There are much better Mega Man X games, like the next one when we cover Mega Man X4. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit that bell, like, and subscribe button. If you want updates, follow me on Twitter or join my Discord, which are provided in the description below. See you next time.